Well, welcome to this session of the AgrAbility National Training Workshop Encore webinars. My name is Paul Jones. I manage the National AgrAbility Project, which is headquartered at Purdue University. And our topic today is farm rescue, helping farm families in crisis. Our presenter, Lynne Hinrichsen from Farm Rescue. For those that are not familiar with AgrAbility, we are sponsored by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We focus on helping anybody in agriculture that has a disability or some type of functional limitation. Every one of the AgrAbility projects around the country is a partnership between a land-grant university and at least one nonprofit disability services organization. And currently, there's enough funding for 21 state projects. In addition, there's one national AgrAbility project, and again, that's here at Purdue University through the Breaking New Ground Resource Center. And our partners on that national AgrAbility project include Goodwill of the Finger Lakes, Osteoarthritis Action Alliance, AgriSafe Network, Colorado State University, and Washington State University. If you'd like more information about AgrAbility, feel free to visit agrability.org. There's more than 130 other archived webinars that you can view at your convenience. I'd like to introduce our presenter, Lynne Hinrichsen. She is the development officer for Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa at Farm Rescue. She's responsible for assisting ag families that have experienced an accident, illness, or natural disaster. She also helps recruiting volunteers and fundraising. She resides outside of Westmoreland, Kansas, where she and her family own and operate Hinrichsen Ranch, which is a registered Angus and Simmental cattle operation. She's a graduate of Michigan State University with dual Bachelor of Science degrees in Animal Science and Agricultural Communications. Most recently, her career includes working as the State Director for USDA Rural Development and the Ag Business Development Director for the Kansas Department of Agriculture. She's extremely passionate for all things agriculture related, helping rural residents and communities thrive, as well as keeping family farms and ranches sustainable. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, turn things over to Lynne, and I'll plan to return for the Q&A period.
Great. All right. Let's see if I can find where my PowerPoint went. Paul and I just had this up, so give me just a moment. And thank you, Paul, for that great introduction. I'm extremely excited to be here to help everyone learn more about Farm Rescue and what we have the capability of doing to help family farms and ranches stay sustainable in terms of a crisis or when something goes wrong, like a natural disaster or anything that we could possibly do. So here we are. So again, as Paul said, I'm down here in Kansas, but I cover 3 states. We also, as you'll see, cover additional states within the Farm Rescue family and territory. So as we move in, I first want you to know that we are a 501(c) nonprofit organization. We were founded by Bill Gross in 2005, and we are led by a group of volunteers who are extremely dedicated to assisting farm and ranch families during a major crisis. All right, as you heard, we are a 501(c) company. We were founded in 2005 by Bill Gross, and I always love to share Bill's story. He is a pilot for UPS, and one day he was flying with his co-pilot, making deliveries, and he told his co-pilot that when he retires, he wants to be able to take a tractor and a planter and go help his neighbors that surround his North Dakota farm. That's where his family farm was. And the co-pilot looked at him and said, well, why are you going to wait until you're retired? Because if we back up closer to 16, 17 years, when Bill first had this idea, that would put him in his later 30s, almost 40. So there was no reason for him to wait. And he said, I think you're right. I don't need to wait. So he went, when he had a break in the spring, he actually went back to North Dakota because he resides in Alaska right now. And he jumped on his tractor and his planter and he went down the road and started helping some neighbors that had suffered an illness. And so he jumped right in and helped them with their planting that spring. And that's how it started. And then the snowball was just non-stopping at that point. He helped a couple other families. And then some sponsors stepped forward and said, we would be willing to help you. And some other people volunteered, and that's where Bill started the organization. So again, we are led by an extremely dedicated group of volunteers. These are retirees, people with full-time jobs still. They're retirees from businesses, farms, ranches, all across the country. We are in 49 different states with our volunteers, even though we're headquartered out of Horace, North Dakota, which is just outside of Fargo. So this is the territory that we cover. As Paul mentioned, I cover Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa. And in the spring of 2023, we will be bringing Illinois on board. So we are extremely excited about that. We've been laying the groundwork since a year ago in the fall and trying to make it known that Illinois was a target state. And now we have some sponsors on board that are just extremely excited about us going there and want to see us succeed. So they're helping us do that. And just to name a couple of those, John Deere Corporate and Wiffle Hybrid Seeds are the two that are really pushing to help us get known and the word out in those states. So what do we really do? We can help any family with the planting, haying, harvesting, commodity hauling, and livestock feeding assistance. So again, they just need to fill out an application. We can get it approved by our board, and then we can bring our volunteers and equipment into those areas and onto that farm or ranch operation and help everyone out. All of this is for free, no cost other than the input cost from the farm or ranch family, meaning they pay for the seed, they pay for the fuel. That's all we ask them to do is top off our tanks as we pull out, but we can get all of our equipment and volunteers down there and help them out. If there is a logistics issue where we can't get equipment there, or we have some families that say, no, we want to use our own equipment, we just need the labor to help us run it, then we can do a volunteer only type scenario as well. But all of this, again, is the cost of the hotels, food, everything for our volunteers coming in is all covered by Farm Rescue through the generosity of our donors and sponsors. We have another entity that we worked extremely hard on this last year, and that was called Operation Haylift. It started out where states in our service area that were experiencing a huge impact from the drought. We sourced hay, whether we purchased it or people donated it, and we were able to utilize our semis and volunteers and our flatbed trailers to load the hay and get it to those areas that needed it. We took that one step further this past year with the 4 county wildfires in Kansas back in December. We rallied our volunteers together and got them out there. And then I went out and we helped get everything delivered to those families in need. Those that still had livestock in the area that had survived and had them grouped up, we were able to bring in feed sources and other resources for them to take care of their livestock. So this is an entity of Farm Rescue and an offshoot I always like to talk about just because it's on an as-need basis. As in the 4 county fires, we were there in December. We went back in April and did another 16 loads for them because we had sourced some additional hay coming out of Missouri, just outside of Kansas City. And so our volunteers spent the better part of 2 weeks in April hauling hay back out to the families because we did a recheck on them just because we knew they had a lot of things coming at them in December and into January. But just like any type of crisis, everyone wants to help on the onset of it. But usually we know you got to check up on people further down the line and just make sure that their needs are being met. They're not suffering anything from, mental overload or a crisis in that regard as well. So that's our Operation Haylift. And this was kind of what it looked like at the Ford County fires. Just absolutely everything destroyed, and resources, no fences, buildings. Fortunately, no human life was lost in this, but just a lot of livestock, and a lot of people, lost homes, outbuildings, equipment. So that's why we brought it. We thought it necessary. Not only did we bring the semi and the flatbed down, but we brought our loader tractor down as well, so we could help out. The mission of Farm Rescue is similar to a lot of our partners, including AgrAbility. We have a dedication to serving those in need, and really want to be there when somebody is pretty much lost as to how they can move forward. So again, you can see we do the planting, we can do the harvesting, we have our own hopper bottom trailers that we can bring in, and again help these families get over, just kind of bridge this gap that they're going through, so that they can get on with the rest of their lives and keep moving forward, or focus on the healing of that family member that may be suffering the illness or recovering from an accident, because there's a lot of things that go on there. So we are typically called our Angels in Blue. You see, I'm wearing my blue shirt today with our logo, and most everybody is the same thing. They are a group of Good Samaritans that really come from everywhere. Like I said, retirees, people that have a full-time job, they will take vacation or sick time to go and help us out. We have people that we always like to kind of joke. There is even a rocket scientist from Florida that will come out. He puts a week of his vacation, earmarks it for Farm Rescue, and is always in contact with us to make sure that he utilizes that time. I met from Washington State a reverend of a church. He just uses this as an added part of his mission and life's calling. So he, again, dedicates his time and efforts to either driving the semi because he has a CDL, or he operates our combine. And through our donors and sponsors, again, all the expenses for the volunteers are covered by Farm Rescue. So there's nothing out of pocket coming from the families that are impacted and that we are helping. So we just want them to be relieved that help is on the way. So where does our impact fit? All families from all walks of life. These are just some photos that you can see the variation from couples to full-fledged families to, people of different backgrounds, all walks of life. This is just such a neat array of people that we get to meet when we are going out there to help them. And, it can be an immediate family member. It could be someone is going through something, if it's a hired hand or someone in their family, but key operators within the operation are who we are focused on helping. And again, filling in for, so that we can get everyone the help they need. And again, let them focus on what they need to, so that they can get better. So we were very fortunate in the time that we have been in existence. As of last fall, we hit our 800th family. As of this spring, we are probably very, very close to 1,000 families. So I really need to update this, but this family in particular, we have a really great video that we did for him. I'm going to share that with you. And I want to see what your takeaways are at the end, because I draw on this video because of a few things that the spouse says of Jean, and how she really articulates why people should reach out for help. So we'll go through this.
Gene Berkeley here. We're from Fort Ransom, and my wife Katie's sitting next to me. And we farm about 1,500 acres. Took over from my dad when he retired, and some of my great uncles and grandpa's land that we farm now. So it's been 3 generations.
I've known him since I was 12, and when I was 19, I decided that I was going to go after him, and it all worked out in the end. We've been married for 19 years. We farm together, and Jocelyn is 14, and she's our grain cart driver when she's not in school. And Charlie is 10, and he also likes to be out there and ride with us.
I've helped Dad sometimes fix stuff and just put parts on the combine and stuff like that. I like to grease it too.
During kind of COVID, when we were quarantined that one spring, I helped with planting a lot. I just remember being out in the field almost every day with Mom in Salford or helping Dad plant, and that was really fun for me. And I got excited for harvest and got to drive grain cart.
It's been dry this summer, but I think the crops are looking pretty good. I had leukemia when I was 5 and 6 years old, and got cured of that and all in remission. And then 98, found a large non-cancerous tumor right on my forehead, and they had that removed because it was almost the size of an egg. And come to realize or find out that the experimental treatment I had when I had leukemia was causing these tumors. And now since then I've had 3 more surgeries. The second one was about 5 years ago, and then now I've had 2 in the last year. The last 2 surgeries weren't tumor related, they were just like cysts that had grown up and creating pressure in my head. But twice in 1 year is kind of a lot to handle. In August, I went in for the last MRI, and it said that we need to do something. I said, well, can I put it off till after harvest? And he said, well, not really.
When we learned that he had to have a second surgery within the same year, it wasn't very far between the 2. That was really scary because it was so quick, and realized that it had gotten big really fast. So, and of course, it was the first week of school, so it was a little stressful for both of us, but we've gotten through it, I guess. Recovery seemed to be really quick, so.
He was in the hospital for only about 3 days, which is surprising to me, I guess, because the recovery was really fast this time. He was doing really well, so they let him go home. He's been doing really good, just recovering here at home and sleeping a lot too.
Still have restrictions as far as lifting and can't be out for a 12-hour shift out in the tractor or combine. But
I had a few friends mention Farm Rescue to me and say, just call them and I think they'll come and help you. And I was scared to ask at first because I can't ask for help. It's really hard for me to ask for help. I love to help people, but asking for help was really hard. And my brother works with one of the Farm Rescue volunteers. His name is Bob. So he told my brother to tell me to call Luke. It was really easy. Luke said, just go online to the Farm Rescue website. So we filled out the application and mailed it all in, and that was that. It was really easy. Luke called me the night before Jean went into surgery and told me that they were coming and everything was going to be okay. And I cried again and I said, thank you. And yeah, very happy that we didn't have to worry about that.
I'm thankful that they're here to help us with this stuff.
There's so many different things that could be the reasons why people would need farm rescue, and just having them, it's really, really helpful. It just relieves a lot of stress. It helps you get through things. Harvest, it is a stressful time, and you need the help. It's good to have people like farm rescue.
Half our acres of soybeans we'll take care of. And my wife will run our combine too with them, so it should go pretty quick and pretty easy. I always thought it was a good thing for everybody that needs it.
I had no idea how many you've helped. I guess we're surprised that we're the lucky 800th.
Yeah, to get that rounded number. It's real good to see the sponsors on the equipment and vehicles, and actually do business with some of the sponsors too, so they know it's supported in the area.
It's appreciated.
I think it's real valuable service to have. I mean, they're real flexible on what I think should be done or the way they want to do it. And nice to have that.
Make the phone call, check out the website. It's very easy. Everyone is super helpful. If you need help, ask. Just really thankful.
So as you can see, we all know farmers and ranchers are the last to ask for help, but usually the first to step up and offer their help. And it's just like Katie said, she loves to help people, but just can't bring herself to ask. Well, I think at this point, as we all could, heard in the video, they were at a point in their life where they knew they needed help. And again, it took her brother to telling her that it would be okay to ask for help because he had lived it by being a volunteer with Farm Rescue. And that's why we always reach out and try to have these types of presentations or work with our partners like AgrAbility that together they're the boots on the ground and, we're the stranger that's coming in and they may not trust us. And so that's always the difficult hurdle to overcome. But if we can get people to trust us that we will do the job exactly the way they want it done, just like Gene said, he goes, if he wanted to say something and the way he likes it done, then that's exactly what our volunteers will do. So it's a comforting feeling knowing that Farm Rescue and their volunteers are just an extension of that family and will do whatever it takes to get things done the way they see fit. And so that's always been my biggest takeaway is farmers will be the first to help, but yet the last to ask for help. And so I've come up with what I hope is a great way to maybe sway them in the other direction or give them something to think about. And this came about when I was helping out at the 4 county fires. I had a ranch woman tell me that very similar. She goes, it's just so hard to ask for help, even though we need it. And I asked her if she liked to help people. And she said, yes, she did. I said, well, if that gives you joy in helping someone, then maybe you shouldn't take the joy away from someone else wanting to step up and help. So if you can take that with you as you leave this webinar to also keep that in the back of your mind that let's let others have the joy in helping our fellow neighbors or, we're the neighbors that just live a little further down the road or up the road, however you want to term it, to come out and help. So that's why it's very important that we have great partners and they be the segue between Farm Rescue and the farm and ranch families to let them know it'll be okay if we can come forward and help. Go to the next one. So how do we complete our mission? Well, there's several different ways. We have partners, obviously, corporate, individual partnership programs like AgrAbility, John Deere, Anheuser-Busch. I'm sure you all have seen the Anheuser-Busch and John Deere campaign with the Busch Light beer cans this past summer. Community engagement people, going into communities and I am identifying 2 people from all the states that I particularly cover to help me reach out even further into the rural areas in whether it's our own community or within a several county area, having them go out and do some presentations or take marketing materials out there, or again, find the farm cases that they can connect me to. Extension services and government offices like your State Department of Ag or NRCS office, FSA offices, those are all great partners for us to work together and again, be that trusted source to connect people to Farm Rescue. Trade shows, meetings, workshops, any way that we can get in front of folks to let them know what's going on and how we can help. That's what we want to do. So if you hear of something and you need me there, please let me know and I'll be happy to make the trip to get there. And then again, referrals on cases. We're at a lull right now in the summer. We don't have as many hay baling cases going on, but we are gearing up for harvest later this month and starting in September. And again, we will have about 5 combines rolling. Just to give you an idea, we own 2 of the combines. We lease 3 of them. And those are from different dealerships and John Deere dealerships within the different states that we currently are servicing. So with all that equipment out there, we can be in multiple places. And again, we have hundreds of volunteers that we have at the ready any given year that can come and run the equipment for us. And our CDL drivers can run the semis. And as Katie pointed out in the video, she ran her combine right alongside ours. We've done that. You know, we're not here to take away from the neighboring aspect, but we are here to help because the neighbors need to get their things done and their crops out of the field at the same time. Everything's weather related and of course labor related. So everyone's short on time. And then we hope to possibly gather more donors and sponsorships and even look at some estate planning that some planned giving opportunities as people put together their estates and look at farm rescue as a benefactor, or beneficiary. So here is a great example right here in Sterling, Kansas. It's about 3 hours, not quite 3 hours from where I live, South Central Kansas. This gentleman was in a car accident. And this is where actually AgrAbility put us in contact with him. AgrAbility did provide some of the equipment that he needed so he could continue farming. He farms with his dad and they run some cattle. And then Farm Rescue was able to actually put together, so we have Farm Rescue proper. And then, as I said, we have like Operation Haylift underneath Farm Rescue. But there is a separate entity under the Farm Rescue umbrella that is the Farm Rescue Foundation. And we are pulling from large donor sources on that to where it will be self-sustainable. And we can give grants to people to help them. And it's mainly for folks very similar to what AgrAbility can help out with. We gave a grant to Brett Fitzpatrick so that he could purchase a lift that gets him into the driver's seat of his pickup. And just this earlier this summer, I was able to actually go out there and see that lift. And it's not the one you see him above the tractor there. That's a completely different boom and type lift. This is just a seat that's on an electric motor lift that lowers itself to the level of his wheelchair or motorized chair. And then he slides over and then it lifts him up to be level with the driver's seat. And then he slides over. But that grant we provided for Brett was in the ballpark of about $5,400 to help with the purchase of that lift. So again, you can see the partnership that we have with organizations like AgrAbility, where we can help more and more people out there. So what are we looking at on the road ahead? Pretty simple. We assisted over 100 families last year, and we are now on track to helping 120, which is what our goal was this year. But we, at the time of this video or this presentation, when I first did it, we had already 24 cases on the books, and most of those were from the haylift operations. But right now with the planning cases, we encompass this spring and some of the early harvest and hay baling, or I should say wheat harvest, small grain harvest, and the hay baling that we've been able to do. We're well on our way to reaching more than 120 families for this year. But again, we want to reach out to our partners so that they can help us. And possibly, find more for us. So as we move forward, and what's another great takeaway is on these families that we are helping, we really want them to stay viable in their farming operations for the generations to come. And how do we, and great statistic that I love to share is 97% of the families that we have helped to this date are still in operation 3 years down the road. And that's a huge, huge thing, because a lot of these families would not have been able to keep going, losing a person who was an integral part of the day-to-day operations. Some of the things that I didn't touch on before, but we talk about accident, illness, and some of those things, but I want you to be aware that first of all, illnesses include physical as well as mental situations. So if mental stress is really dragging somebody down where they need to step away and possibly just take a break, we can step in for them based on that nature as well. For multiple years, we didn't cover if there was a death loss in the family. But Bill Gross, our CEO, has changed that to now it's really on a case-by-case basis, but we now are looking at death cases when it takes out a key operator. Actually, there were 3 planting cases within literally 10 to 15 miles of my own house this spring. 2 of those cases were where they lost a spouse in the operation, and they may have been, the remaining spouse may have been huge in the operation as far as harvest and driving trucks and doing the hay baling or livestock feeding, if they were a variable type operation, but really didn't have a lot where they could do a lot with the planning machinery and all that. And that's where we were able to step in and help those families. So it's really about keeping the farm going. And so it's still there for the generations that are up and coming. So those of you that would love to become a farm rescuer and join our group of volunteers, that's what you need to do. You can be a volunteer, you can make a donation, or refer a family in need. Everything can be found on our website. Volunteer applications, family cases, those applications, they're all one page, very simple. Can do it online or print it off and mail it in, and then someone will be in contact with you. And then we can get things rolling from that. That's the easiest way to do it. There's my contact information. I'm available pretty much around the clock, because we know agriculture doesn't take a day off, and it's round the clock as well. So I appreciate everybody's time. I love the fact that I was able to present this again after the National Training Conference earlier this or late winter, early spring. I really just enjoy having AgrAbility as a partner in all our endeavors. And if there's anything I can do to help anyone in the future, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. So any questions at this time, I would certainly be happy to get the answers for you.
Thanks so much, Lynn. I appreciate that great information, and also just your organization's passion for sharing and helping people, and also the collaboration we've got with AgrAbility and the partnership there. So we do welcome questions from those that are listening today. I have a few I'll put up on the screen for you. And again, if you'd like to ask questions verbally, you can use the raise hand icon, and I'll do my best to unmute you. So let's see.
Looks like Jennifer needs to know the states.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So the states we are in are North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Minnesota, Nebraska, Iowa, and Kansas. And then Illinois will be brought on in the spring of 2023.
Okay. Here's another question for you. If someone does not have experience in operating farm equipment, would there still be any place for them in terms of volunteering?
Absolutely. We take anyone who is willing and able to volunteer. We will find something for that person to do. If they can drive a vehicle, then they may become the parts runner during that situation. They may be the person who's got to go grab some sandwiches for somebody, for the rest of the group. Again, there's so many different opportunities. I've done some webinars for some cattle groups, and I've got some younger people, college students, that kind of the same situation. They're like, I know how to do livestock, but I don't know how to run farm equipment. What can I do? And I tell them the same thing. If they are, they can fill planter boxes, with seed. They can help load things. Whatever. When you fill out the application, there are specific questions in there as to what your comfort level is on running a tractor, a combine, hay baling equipment, anything, planting equipment, a bale processor, or a mixer wagon. I mean, those are all the pieces of equipment that we own or lease. And so if they don't have experience in equipment operation, then like I said, they can drive a vehicle and help us out at the field.
Okay, thank you. Before the next question, just a reminder to please remember to fill out the survey, and that's link has been placed in the chat. If you just take a quick click on that. I noticed you indicated that there has to be an application. Some reasons you might decide that it's not appropriate to help in a particular case.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's probably the not so fun part of our job. There are some cases that we will look at. We try to focus on the cases and focus our resources on full-fledged farming operations or ranching operations, to where we want to keep it going for the next generation, just like I explained. Case in point, had a person call me this spring looking for help with hay baling. It's a couple probably in their 50s. The husband is undergoing some chemo treatment, but they don't derive their income off of the farm. What they basically have is an acreage that they bale the hay off of and sell. They don't run cattle. They don't have their own equipment. They do. They have some older used equipment, but again, small enough. I mean, they probably were going to get maybe 20, 30 bales off this patch of grass. And we couldn't justify bringing equipment as far from North Dakota down here. Now, if they needed a volunteer, but they found a local neighbor to help them to get that done. So there's very rare cases that I can say that Bill and the board of directors has turned down. It mainly is focused on, is this going to keep the operation sustainable and viable for the next generation, or to continue in its operation? So I guess it's, if you're an absentee landowner or something like that, but that's just small operations. We just can't justify that.
Okay. I think we've got a question that would like to be asked verbally. So I'm going to try to unmute Carol. Let's see. Carol, I think you can probably ask your question if you'd like to do that. We'll see if it works.
Sure thing. Thanks. Hi, Lynn. So I work in suicide prevention for veterans. And I have encountered over the years many, many occasions when a veteran is needing to come in for care, and oftentimes it's mental health care. And the barrier to coming in for that emergent care is the concern about how to care for the farm. I think of one veteran in particular whose option was that he was going to shoot his entire herd of dairy cattle because he couldn't find care for them. And that's what prevented him from coming in for emergent care. So I was on your website, I was looking at the application, and I was just thinking, how do you work in more of a crisis situation? How rapidly can these arrangements be made to enable someone to get care to avert, thoughts of suicide. And then the second part of that is, does it always have to be the physician who endorses that, or can it be a mental health provider who's collaborating to arrange that care?
Okay, those are great questions and situations, and that's why I backed up and wanted to make sure that everyone understands it's mental stress, mental health, as mental illness, whatever term you want to use, as well as a physical illness. So in this particular case, you want to know how fast can we rally the troops, basically. On average, when an application is submitted, the board typically responds within 48 hours. Now, I do know in mental health situations, we probably need to respond even more quickly. And so if the provider either calls us, whether it's a physician or a mental health provider, or someone from one of the hotlines is working with that person who called in and is in duress, we can expedite that. And that's the great thing that we have, and that we have volunteers in 49 states. They're everywhere. So we can, a lot of times people will drop at a moment's notice everything they're doing to go help take care of somebody else. So, I mean, I can't give you an exact turnaround like 24 hours, but the stat I have is within 48 hours, on average, we can get an application submitted or, approved. Now, here's an example of how fast we can react. I have a counterpart in Minnesota. He covers basically Minnesota, North and South Dakota, and Eastern Montana. The states I cover, again, take the four county fires. The day after those fires erupted and swept through that area, I was out there. Granted, it's the edge of it is 2 hours from my home, but I went out there to assess the situation and start the process. And I mean, that morning I was on the phone with the home office to say, this is what I'm doing. This is what we need to be ready to do. We had our first volunteer and truck and trailer there. The fire broke out on a Wednesday evening. I was there on Thursday. By Saturday, we had the driver and equipment down there to start going through things. In the case of livestock feeding, if we can get a little bit of leeway, because, if relief shows up, everyone has a particular way of feeding their livestock. And I know in a dairy, that's pretty much a 24/7 type operation. We can bring multiple volunteers in to kind of help through that and go on a rotation. But as far as getting paperwork from a physician, I mean, it really can come. We just need the application submitted, and the person that needs the help willing to sign off on it, or make that call him or herself, so that we can move on that.
Thank you. That's super helpful.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another question from Wanda Braithwaite Farrell, and I will do my best to unmute her.
Breaking up a little bit, Wanda.
Yeah, we're not able to hear you right now, Wanda. We'll keep trying. It looks like you're still muted on your end. Anyway, one more question that I've got up here for you. I'm sure a lot of people out there are really excited about what you do and would like to see you be able to expand. What can people like those that are listening today do to help with that process of getting farm rescue in more areas?
This is our big challenge, because we sometimes, people attend different conferences or know people in other states that we have in our service area. and then they want to submit an application, or they know somebody in their state. Case in point, I attended the National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville, Kentucky last February. And of course, that draw, I had people stop by our booth from Virginia, Tennessee, Ohio, and we're not in any of those states yet. Indiana, we're getting closer. Really, the help we need is finding the sponsors in those areas that will help with us being able to move equipment that far. Or case in point of John Deere being a corporate sponsor, that's all the equipment we run is John Deere because of their generosity. And so if we had a dealer in, say, in Indiana that said we would be willing to put up equipment or X number of dollars to help you all out, I mean, that's really where our expansion takes place, is making sure we have the support to get it there, because we can't, I mean, you saw in the video the van wall on one of the pieces of equipment. Well, that's a dealership that is in Iowa as well as North Dakota and South Dakota. So we just need to get more buy-in, I guess. If we start getting flooded with responses from people in need, I think that would cause that state to rise to the front of the list, to where we would have to take a stronger look at it. But it takes a while for us to get ready to move into a state. We learned in trying to get into Iowa and Nebraska, we tried to do too much too fast, and the trust factor wasn't there. So now we've kind of backed up, and I'm revisiting a lot of those folks to let them know in a little slower pace. That's why Illinois, we started the process last fall, actually a year ago in August when we were at Farm Progress Show, to let people know that. So it's really finding the donors and sponsors and knowing that we know the need is in every state. There's people undergoing a crisis at some point. So it's step by step. So tell them to hang in there. We'll get there eventually. That's our goal.
Okay. Thank you. Wanda, it looks like you're unmuted now. If you want to try again, ask a question.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Oh, good. Thank you. Okay. My question is, how many times can a farmer request help from you? Is there a limit?
Excellent question. We help for one season. So families that we help with planting, we typically will not be back to help with harvest. We're just hoping to get them over. Now, again, there are some exceptions to the rule. Again, it depends on where our equipment is at it, logistically, and how many other cases we have. If we have some downtime, we may revisit if that family is still in need. But usually we do up to, I believe it's 1,000 acres of one crop or another, whether it's planting or harvesting. So if you need us to do corn, we do corn. Somebody else is going to have to do the soybeans or milo. So,
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Another raised hand from Pipcorn. And so we'll see if we can unmute you to ask your question. Right now, it looks like you're still muted. I think you have to unmute on your end. Okay, I don't see that working right now. Try one more time. Okay, I'm not seeing that working at this point, but feel free to type a question in the chat if you'd like to do that. I will go ahead and put the webinar survey link in one more time. And again, request people to just take a minute to share that. We've got a note in the chat that Farm Rescue is a member of Amazon Smile. So that looks like a way to donate through your Amazon purchases. Okay, I'm not seeing more questions at this point. So again, I want to thank Lynne for sharing with us today and for all their work at Farm Rescue. Again, we will be archiving this recording, hopefully within the next few days, and we'll plan to let you know of any developments in that area. So thank you for everybody's participation today, and we wish you a good rest of the day.
Thank you.